Alright everybody, today on Pimp My Ride, we're going to be removing this back seat back here, and we're going to be putting in a gigantic fish tank to take up the whole back seat. And when you pop the trunk back here, what it's going to be is like a tailgate party. It's going to have a grill and everything back there. It's going to be awesome. With a big old flat screen, it's going to be spectacular. But no, not really. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be replacing my CV axle on this side, or the half shaft, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be replacing this one today. When I replaced my clutch bearing about a month or so ago, I went ahead and replaced my axles. Well, I tried to. I noticed that they gave me the wrong axles for my car because for some reason AutoZone, there's AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, all of them list the wrong axles for a XRS Corolla for some reason. And I figured that out when I got the passenger side axle. There's a flange on mine that has two bolts that run through it in about the middle of the axle. Well, the ones that they only show for my car doesn't have that flange. It's for the 1ZZ motor, which was like 98% of the Corollas made had the 1ZZ in it, with either the 5-speed or the automatic. Well, mine's the XRS. It has the 2ZZ motor, but it has the C60 transmission, which is a 6-speed. And for some reason they didn't list it, so I just wasn't thinking. So basically what I did is I got a Celica GTS axle for the other side. Well, one of the two things is wrong here, because now what's going on is, after I replaced them, like I said, after I did my throwout bearing, my steering wheel doesn't drive straight anymore. It's probably, instead of being straight like this, it's probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Well, you know, it's weird. So I'm thinking, because I could put a Celica axle over there, maybe I need to put a Celica axle over here. I don't know. So that's what I'm going to be trying. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm replacing the axle to get to a Celica GTS axle instead of the Corolla 1ZZ axles, and hoping that'll at least straighten out the steering wheel. But I know it still needs an alignment. Hasn't had one done since I've had the car I got it in 08, so 15 years. It hasn't had one, and it's had lowering springs on it, so it's probably due for an alignment anyway. But I'm gonna get to replacing this axle. Alrighty, well, I've got the car jacked up just a little bit where I still have some pressure on the tires, but not completely, because I don't want to loosen up the nut on the axle while having a big load on it. So first thing I'm going to do here is we're going to pop this guy off so you can access this nut. And as you can see in there, right there, see how it's pushed down? It keeps the nut from sliding left to right. So you need to make sure, you need to pry that up first, so that way when you're loosening the nut, you don't sit here and screw up all the threads, but also so you can take it off. But so I want to lift that up, loosen the nut. Once I just loosen the nut, just crack it basically where it's not 200 freaking inch-pounds or foot-pounds, whatever the insane amount is. Then I'll jack the car up all the way, put a jack under it, jack stand, and then I'm going to take the wheel off. Alright, I got the wheel off my jack, and I always, as an extra precaution, even though I have the jack stand under it, and I still have my jack, just having it have support, it just barely rests on it, I still throw the wheel under there just in case. I don't know, it's one of my biggest fears is dying under a car. But so next thing I'm gonna do, I've only just cracked this. I only turned it like I mean, probably an eighth of a rotation just to get it loose. But next thing I'm going to do is take this off and this bolt back here that holds on my brake caliper, and I'm actually going to hang it up by this bungee cord. That way it's up out of the way and it's not sitting there, you know, dragging. You're not sitting there hanging it with all the, you know, pressure on your actual brake line. So I'm going to hang it up out of the way. You can do it with a coat hanger, whatever, it doesn't matter. But so I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to take out these two bolts here for the shock. And let's see here. Oh yeah, no, I got another one up here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. This bolt right here, pretty sure. Yeah, maybe, remember. Yeah, I don't think I have to take that off. Actually, I was thinking of my Mustang. So yeah, I'm going to take these two off, hang up my caliper, and then I'm on to the next step. All right, I don't know what I was thinking. I did remove this bolt back here, and I just put it back in. I did that so this line right here has more free room and more play for when I drop my hub here. But I pulled one bolt out. Before I pull out the second bolt, I went ahead and basically got another jack and secured it under here. That way this whole thing just doesn't drop and just put stress on stuff. So now I've got it secure. I can now pull this bolt out. Alright, so I'll actually be able, since I took this nut off now, I'll be able to take this out. Like you see, it's happening now. And I'll push that through. And then, this is that line I was talking about. Alright. But, it's fine because I'm replacing this axle anyway. But the next thing I'm going to do is this is well worth it, these axle pullers, which is basically this. You're going to get it. We can see up in there. Right here, you are going to slide. You're going to slide this contraption up in there, and just like last time, I'm probably going to have to get my little hammer and smack it in a little bit so I can get it nice and flush in there, but I need two hands right at the moment. Let me slide it in there and push it in, and then I'll do the next step. Alright, now I use both hands. Alright, I was able to slide this out. I just got it resting here. But yeah, I took took this nut up off here. It's that way this cable can have some free play. But that's why I like to use a second jack. I mean, you technically don't need this one to begin with because I have my jack stand, but I like my double jacks. But this right here, having a second one down here, it basically allows it where this just doesn't completely fall. And if it completely basically just sits there and hangs, you'll be putting a lot of tension on your brake lines. And I think that's ABS anyway. I don't know. I don't think my car has ABS. I've never locked it up, so I don't know. But it locks up in the snow. I don't think mine actually has traction control, but whatever. It's just so you don't put extra stress on this wire. But now you can see, let me get up in there, find a good way. You can see that is now slid in behind. Where are you at? There it is. It is now slid in behind this hub here. Get my hand out of the way. It's slid in behind here, which is what you want, between here and here. And like I said, you can get those right here at a auto parts store. I think I got this one at O'Reilly's. Advance has them, or AutoZone. All of them usually have those rental tool programs. But between this car, my wife's van, and my daughter's Avalon, they're all front wheel drive, so I just spent the $20, whatever it was that you used to rent it and get your money back. And I keep it. It's mine. I pay for it, and it's mine because I'm going to need it. But those threads on that puller adapter, you're going to be using a good old slide hammer. And then you'll screw it in. Then you just give the slide hammer a few pops until that snap ring that's inside the transmission, basically you free it up and you can slide it out. But once it pops, you can slide it out. But be aware, if you have a nice pretty floor or whatever, it is going to leak transmission fluid. So before you pull that, make sure you know transmission fluid will be coming out. I didn't know that the first time I did it, and made a huge mess. So also be prepared to have extra transmission fluid to top off your transmission after you pull the axle. But alright, I'm going to get the slide hammer on there and I'm going to pop this axle out real quick. Alright, I had that slide hammer up in there because I needed two hands to do it. After you get the slide hammer, you can, and you'll know when it finally pops that ring, because like I said, your car will puke everywhere. I was hoping that because I only had the right side of my car jacked up, it wouldn't leak as bad, but I was wrong. She peed everywhere, but at least it was red. So now that it did that, I should now, or you should now, whatever, be able to just, yep, slide this out. Yeah, it's completely out, but let me use two. There she goes. Alrighty, so now that that's out, I can now install the new one. Alright, I got the new axle that I got from O'Reilly's. Now, like I said, this one, I have a Corolla. This one is for the Corolla. This one is for a Celica GTS with a 6-speed, which the drivetrain basically is the same. And this one is, like I said, so this one's for a 1ZZ with a 5-speed. They say they're interchangeable, but I mean, you can see I have them meshed up here. I mean, you can tell it's just like this right here is bigger than this. And also, this is beefier. And without putting some calipers on it, it is a thicker axle. But overall, I mean, you can see this one is a touch longer. So I'm curious. I'm hoping I mean, you can see it's even like this right here has this extra edge right here. This one does not. Well, maybe it does. It's a lot bigger. But I'm hoping that's the reason, is for the fact that my steering wheel is pointing at 12:30, 1 o'clock now instead of 12 o'clock, is because this axle might have been too short. I don't know. It's so weird because they say the 1ZZ ones and the 2ZZ half shafts supposedly are interchangeable, but clearly these are two different lengths. I don't know. We will see, because it's a big difference. Alright, so to put the half shaft back in, I don't know why it makes a difference, but manual says that this little ring here, you want it basically the gap facing downward. Why it matters, I honestly don't know, but that's what it says. But I'm also going to, so it doesn't go in dry, I'm just going to put a little bit of grease, just a little bit, especially on this side, because I don't want this going into my transmission. So I'm gonna put just a little bit here for now. Then I'll eventually put a little bit on this when I slide it into the hub. But I've done this before. It can be a little bit of a pain. When you slide it up in there, you'll feel it pop. You've got to push it hard, and I mean hard, but you'll feel it pop. And then you can kind of check the clearance on the back with your hand and see that it is pushed in all the way between this and the transmission. If you can still stick your finger back here, it's not pushing all the way. But all right, let me get to shoving this in there and possibly having a half of a heart attack because it's such a pain. Oh yeah, when you are installing it, make sure that your seal, there's a little rubber boot up in here, make sure that it is still good and not damaged. Also, when you are jamming this new axle in there, make sure you don't damage that as well, because then you got to go through this whole process again just to pull it out, just to change that seal. Mine looks to be good condition, so I'm going to leave her. All right, I got it slid up in there, and I checked, and it does appear to be sealed now, so that's good. All right, so next, I just put a little bit of grease on the splines right there. But this is also why I like to have the jack, because I can rest this on here and not just have it dangling and putting stress on your boot and everything else. Which that's, usually why these fail a lot of times. A lot, not all the time. But it's, all your turn in and stuff, after a while the boot wears out, all the grease comes out, and then it eventually just fails. But so I like to not put as much stress on these as possible. But all right, so now I'm just going to get it and slide her into the back of the hub there and put it back together. All right, I got it slid up in there. This isn't tight yet, but I will do that here in a second. First, I'm going to, this is like I said, one of the reasons I like this. I can't check it from there. And there. Jack this up so I can get my holes to align much easier than having to do this by hand. What I need to still go up some, yeah. All right, let me use 2 hands to do this. All right, so I'm gonna jack it up just a little more. Put the bolts in, attach my brakes, and that's what I'm going to do for this step. See, I got that bracket, these two, and these two. Alrighty, I got all this buttoned back up. That's buttoned up, that's buttoned up. The next part, there's a couple ways to do it. If you have a friend, buddy, or just somebody at home or wherever, the easiest way is to have them sit in the car, apply the brakes, and torque this down to, I believe it's 159 foot-pounds of torque. Good googly moogly. That's a lot of freaking foot-pounds of torque. I don't even think my heads are torqued down that dang much on my Thunderbird. Yeah, I don't think they're freaking 159 foot-pounds. But I could be wrong. I don't know. But that's the easiest way to do it. But my whole family right now is at Carowinds right now. So I don't have that. So that's why my driveway is empty. Because they're all at Carowinds. But since I don't have people, what I'm going to do, put the tire on. And I'm going to set it down slightly. I'm just going to have it just barely touching the ground just so it won't spin. And then I'll torque it down. Then I'm going to jack it back up, take the tire off, and then get a screwdriver or punch or something and make sure to punch this in the groove here. That way it cannot turn. But like I said, since I don't have no one here, I got to put the tire on, lower the car just a little bit, just where it's touching the ground. Knock that down, or once I do that, lift it back up, take the tire off, knock this down, because I don't believe I can knock it down. It's too far in with my wheel to knock it in with the wheel on. But then once I do that, put the tire back on, and then I need to refill my transmission, which is very important. I mean, I would assume, oh yeah, and don't do what I did, because last time I did this, I actually forgot. Don't leave this up here, because mine was still up here. That's why I completely forgot about it, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off, because it's been riding around for a month tied to my freaking suspension like an idiot. Yeah, make sure you take that down too. Don't forget about that. Don't be a ding dong. All right, so let me get to tightening this garbage down to freaking. But if you don't have a torque wrench, you can just tighten the ever living fire out of it, or again, just go to a local auto parts store and you can rent a tool and then just take it back. But all right, so let me torque this down real quick, and almost done with this thing. Yeah, it's just a double check. I went to my good old, look at this ridiculous manual here, and there's the other one. But rear drive shaft lock nut, here it is. Yeah, it is 159 foot-pounds. Whew. Ay caramba. But yep, that's where I'm at. I would suggest getting these instead of using a regular socket. They are expensive, but man, they're so well worth it. They don't slip off nowhere near as bad as an actual socket. They are awesome. But I got her set to, yeah, roughly, I think 159 foot-pounds. God. There we go. All right. So now I'm gonna jack it back up, take my wheel off, and knock that in real quick, punch it in. Alrighty, I got it nice and ping now. I like to use a fairly dull or old screwdriver. Just put it on the edge there, smack the end with a hammer, and ta-da. So, just gotta put my wheel on and top off my transmission fluid. Alrighty, we're getting almost done here. Sorry, wife came home finally. But I've got the light shining right down there. You can see the threads. I just got a stick. Basically, you fill it up till it pours out, which is kind of stupid, but that's the way it is. So I just got my gear oil with a hose, and I'm just gonna stick it in there and squirt her away till it pours out. And then that'll be done. We're done after that. Alrighty, everything's done. I filled up the transmission fluid, I put the hood back on, and everything's good. It is so much better than it was before. Okay, so here's my steering wheel. Before, it would be about like this when I would let go of the steering wheel. That's how it would drive, and it would pull hard to the right. I mean, if I was on a straight road and I let go of the steering wheel, it would do this and then just, I mean, it would drive straight into the ditch pretty much. The only way you could take your hand off the wheel at all is if you were in a right-hand turn. Now, instead of like, it's about like right here now. So instead of this, it's about here. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And it still veers a little bit, but not a whole bunch. I still need an alignment. Like I said, it's been it's probably never had an alignment since the car was, made. And I put lowering springs on it, and this thing's got 238,000 miles. So it probably just needs an alignment now anyway, but it had that little bit of an angle before I replaced the axle the first time. But after I put that 1ZZ one in there, it was, like I said, it was like this, steered hard right. Now it's so much better. So it's not too bad of a fix. I just need to figure out what's wrong with my roof and get that figured out next. All right, until next time. Axles are pretty simple. I mean, you can do it in your driveway. It doesn't really take that many tools, just a couple of wrenches. I mean, it's fairly simple, but have a drip pan, because like I said, it will puke like mine did. It always does. But oh well. Until next time.